What's up everyone, and welcome to another video here on Dota Alchemy. Thank you for tuning in, and you guys have been asking for it, so I finally am delivering another tier list video. And this is going to be on the position 4 role, or the support role as it is known in Dota when you're selecting in role queue. And I'm going to change up the format of these tier list videos a little bit. In the past, I've always kind of talked about each individual hero, and it tends to drag out the video for a very long time. If you want to take a hero that you see in C or D tier and play it in a way that fits into the kind of overarching meta of the 4 role that I'm describing, feel free. You know, this is not a hard and fast set of rules. You have to play these heroes. But for me, from what I've seen, from what the pros are picking, these heroes are the ones that do the job of the 4 role better than basically any other hero in the game. And that is why they are in the tier that they are in. So without further ado, let's talk about the S tier. I feel like this has been the S tier for almost a year at this point. Earthshaker and Rubik. What else really needs to be said? Earthshaker is basically the most reliable 4-role hero in the game because he has high movement speed, which means he can roam around the map and impact whatever lane is necessary. He has a lane manipulation spell in Fissure, which allows you to basically have any offlaner have a good lane, because at level 1 they will start with the wave in front of their tower, which is extremely overpowered because in a meta where winning the lanes is very important, being able to automatically have even a weak laner have a good start to their lane is ridiculously high impact, and that's why this hero is being picked a ton. And then of course all he needs is a blink dagger and he becomes arguably the best team fighting counter initiator or initiator in the entire game. So Earthshaker, top tier 4 role. And it seems like anytime you have an Earthshaker as one of the best heroes in the game, you're going to have a Rubik as well, because, of course, Rubik is just a better Earthshaker, at least to some extent, with spell steal, when you can take a Fissure or something like that. The hero also is just ridiculously strong in the laning stage, because you have a Fade Bolt ability, which allows you to not only do a decent amount of damage, but also reduce your opponent's damage, which means that it's very hard to out trade a Rubik. And Rubik has the ability to start with a couple of different builds. You could go for sort of a more sustained harass build, or you could go for boots first and be very annoying and trading with the 5 and roaming around sniping couriers. Just in general, Rubik is a very good archetypical 4 because he has the ability to win lanes, impact the early game with an instant disable, and then also has the ability to win team fights in the mid game as well. And so that's what I kind of wanted to define as the meta of the 4 role, which is that you want to be able to either stomp the lane because you just do too much damage, you out harass, you bully, you snipe couriers, you crush the laning stage as a 4. And that could be one lane, multiple lanes. Preferably what you're doing is you're crushing the off lane and then rotating and also crushing the mid, or rotating and crushing the safe lane as well once you've got your off lane to a good start. And that is really what you're looking for out of a 4 role, is a hero that dominates the laning stage and then also roams to impact another lane during the laning stage. And as you transition from the laning stage into sort of like the early mid game portion of the game, that is where the 4s tend to really kind of exert their pressure on the map. And then as the game progresses, the 4s that are best right now are both good at shoving waves and kind of gobbling up this garbage farm, maybe in the dead lane, or if nobody else on your team is pushing a wave and it needs to be pushed, you're very good at doing that. So we've got wave clear for both of the S tier heroes, Earthshaker and Rubik. And then finally, you want a hero that's going to have a massive impact in team fights as well, thanks to great spells, AoE, or the ability to like very firmly initiate and get kills in team fights as well, and kind of scale to be somewhat of a core. And so obviously both Earthshaker and Rubik fit this role perfectly, and that is why we are also going to start talking about the A tier heroes in the same kind of category. Husk. This hero has been somewhat on the rise lately. It's become one of my favorite heroes to play. I've actually been playing it as a 5 a bit as well. I think it's very good in the laning stage. Depending on who you pair it with, tag team can be one of the best lane winning spells in the game. He's got a save, he's got wave clear potentially if you need it, but then he has just the ability to just fight, and fight and fight and fight and fight, and that's what the meta is right now. You take this hero and you put it with pretty much any other aggressive core or even aggressive support, and you're going to rack up the kills, rack up the team fight impact, and just dominate the map. On a Tusk, you want to be playing on the enemy side of the map probably the entire game and just bullying and controlling the jungle, not letting the other team get out and access farm. Phoenix is the next hero that I wanted to talk about, and this hero is not the strongest laner at level 1, but once you get a couple of levels on Phoenix, even though they keep nerfing Fire Spirits, even though they keep nerfing Phoenix's abilities, he just does, or it just does, too much damage. He does so much magical damage, and the fact that Fire Spirits make it impossible to trade, even though the hero has very low armor, if you have a Fire Spirit on you, it's just not possible to trade right clicks with the Phoenix or whoever he's laning with. And thanks to the ability to pull waves, a lot of the time you don't even have to worry about the level 1 weakness of Phoenix. And a lot of our offlaners in the current pool right now tend to be pretty strong anyway, so you can just kind of sit behind them and Fire Spirits and deny, and then you'll hit level 2, and then suddenly you have kill potential. And then, of course, this hero is one of the best scaling heroes in the game. Supernova is bananas. Once you pick up an Aghanim Scepter, which as a 4 is much easier to get, and that's actually what GH was doing for a long time earlier on in the patch, which is just to go Tranquil Boots into Aghanim Scepter and then other utility items. The next hero that I want to talk about in the A tier is Bounty Hunter, and this is sort of a personal pick in this particular tier, and that brings up an interesting point, which is that I feel like one of the biggest problems with tier lists that I've made in the past are that I focus a lot on what the pro meta is, what people are playing in tournaments. I think that's a little bit of a mistake because pubs are not pro games, and frankly speaking, if you are trying to pick and execute exactly what the pros are doing, it's probably not going to work very well because there is a lot of important teamwork and communication that goes into specific strategies that you see them running, and that's just not going to translate very well into a pub game. And that's, for example, why I have a hero like Sniper in B tier, even though people like Yapsor are picking this and winning with it on a regular basis. I think that Sniper support, well, it is viable, don't get me wrong, don't get mad at me, I think it's viable, but I also think it requires you to coordinate with your team to let them know, hey, I need to farm a lot more than a traditional 4 does because I have to get this Aghanim Scepter at a specific time to have impact. And so you need to give the Sniper room, and most pubs will not do that. And that is why I have this hero who I think is strong in the role in a lower tier, because it just doesn't work well in pub Dota, in my opinion, at the very least. And a hero like Bounty Hunter is probably rated a little bit higher by me because this has been working very well to me. But I also think Bounty Hunter does one specific unique thing, which is to generate gold in a meta where gold is scarce. This hero is overbuffed, in my opinion. He's too fast. You start with, I've just been going the crit build every single game, which is to start with boots and a tango. And then you just trade with the support or the core in the lane with Janata. You hit them for over 100 damage and steal gold at the same time. And then you snipe couriers. You just are incredibly annoying. You harass, you pull. And then once you get a couple of levels, then you can basically just start diving them. You rush phase boots. You can solo kill supports. And then as soon as you hit level 6, you pretty much just fight with your team. Whoever's the strongest corner team, you go to them, you fight with them, and you don't stop fighting for the rest of the game. The next hero in our A tier is Queen of Pain, and quite frankly, this is probably just the best hero in the game. It's so versatile. You can play it in every single role. You can first pick it. Doesn't really get particularly countered by anything, aside from maybe just like massive regen strategies, I guess. But even then, you can flex it if you have to, but in the 4 role, it functions very much like any other lane dominator. You are going to put a bunch of points in Shadow Strike, sometimes max it out, and just harass down the core, harass down the support in the lane. And once you have them low enough, you have the nice mobility spell of Blink to be able to dive them. Of course, you can use this to snipe couriers, just like you would on any other 4 role. And if your team decides that they don't want to take advantage of the fact that you have this insanely aggressive position 4 who's snowballing the game, which happens in pubs, you can just go ahead and default to split pushing and shoving waves because you are extremely good at doing that with Scream of Pain. And that means that you are going to just essentially turn into a full-on core Queen of Pain by the end of the game anyway. And so you can go a variety of items. You can go Yules, Spirit Vessel, Orchid, Aghanim Scepter, Guardian Greaves, Atos. I've seen so many different builds on this hero, and they all seem to work because Flop is just a very, very strong hero right now and fits the meta perfectly of being able to dominate the lane, dominate multiple lanes because of your mobility, snowball the game very quickly, and also scale into a core throughout the mid game, which is what you really want to be doing, is hitting this strong early to mid game power spike and just choking the other team. The next hero on our A tier is Mirana, and this again is one of those heroes that it could be a little bit lower in the pro scene, but I think as a pub hero it works very well because it has high mobility. Moonlight Shadow is going to absolutely destroy most supports because they're very bad at utilizing sentries and detection, and they're either going to overbuy and be extremely poor or underbuy, and then you just win the game because nobody can kill you teammates. Sacred Arrow is very valuable at stopping pushes by sniping the Siege Wagon. It's also one of the strongest stuns in the game with setup, and that pairs very well with heroes that are very popular right now, like Ember Spirit, or any of these rooting heroes or slowing heroes. Very easy to land Sacred Arrow if you're paying attention. And then, of course, if you need to, you can shove waves because Starstorm is quite strong at doing that and scale yourself into becoming a core. Leap also provides insane mobility. It's like 3 mini blinks that you can use and chase down even somebody like a Void Spirit pretty well with this hero. Most Miranas in the 4-roll are going for heavy utility, so in the form of Guardian Greaves. You could see, of course, Spirit Vessel. Pangolier is another hero that is definitely not under the radar. This is getting picked a huge amount in the professional scenes, played as a 4, played as a 2, played as a 3, and with good reason. This hero is very strong. He has a pretty bad level 1, but once you get past that, suddenly you've got your Lucky Shot up. Most people are just maxing Swashbuckle and Lucky Shot, and then that allows you to just obliterate supports. And then most people are also going for like auras and just survivability items on this, especially as a 4. I tend to see something like Brown Boots into Vlad's, sometimes Tranquil, sometimes you go for Arcanes because you're eventually going to build Greaves. Usually people are not building damage on Pangolier because you don't really need to. He already does a lot of damage with Swashbuckle and has one of the highest teamfight impact spells in the game in Rolling Thunder, as long as you are good at hitting your bounces and careening the rolling ball in the right direction. This hero also shoves waves extremely fast, so again, if your team is playing very passively and the waves need to be shoved, Pangolier is the hero for you. He helps you take Roshan with Lucky Shot. He helps defend Roshan, of course, with Rolling Thunder. And our final A-tier hero is Pugna. This hero has been on the rise for a while, and although I haven't seen it played a ton recently in the professional scene, I still think it's one of the best pub stomping heroes in the game, period, in any position. And I think as a 4, it functions just as well in this role as it would as a 2 or a 3 or whatever other position you might want to run it as. Of course, very annoying to lane against, lots of AoE damage, very hard to get good last hits against the Pugna, the Crepify. And then, I mean, Life Drain is just extremely overbuffed. It does too much damage. The cooldown is very low. The fact that you can refill your teammates' health and mana is ridiculous as well. And as we've been talking about, you know, this hero is very fast, can snipe couriers, can roam around, can dominate several lanes, and then more so than any other hero on this list, if you need to, you can kind of just take the game in your own hands, shove towers, shove waves, become a full-on core, and just do all of the building damage that your team refuses to do, while also providing, you know, whatever utility items that your team might need. Pugna is a hero that you can almost build anything on, and he's still going to do his job of being able to push towers. And so whether your team needs a Halberd, whether you need a Lotus Orb, whether you need a Vlad's, or whether you just want to have a walking fountain with, you know, Tranquil Boots and multiple tranquil boots, I guess, and Aether Lens, that's also viable as well. This hero will destroy most uncoordinated pub teams, and I think that's why Pugna is a very, very strong candidate for the A tier here. So those are the two tiers that I really wanted to talk about in this video, and I'm going to end it here, but I will talk a couple sort of honorable mentions. Of course, this is a new thing that I've added over here. These heroes, I would just say, are strictly better as 5-roll. You could run them as a 4 if you really wanted them in the game, or it was a perfect game to play them, but you already had a position 5. But I just think that they fit better as 5-roll heroes. In the B tier, we have lots of viable heroes who are definitely good and have their place. Like I said, Sniper, Weaver. This hero kind of functions like the Phoenix with the save from Aghanims, and also can snipe couriers and roam around, but doesn't have the best wave clear. Earth Spirit, amazing roamer, not the best wave clear. Shadow Demon, a hero on the rise, but again, he's not super fast at clearing waves. He's not the best lane dominator. He does a lot of good things, but he's not quite at the same level as these A or S tier heroes. Willow, amazing team fight, not the best wave clear. Shaman, good wave clear, but kind of slow, not the best roamer at the moment, even with boots first. Crystal Maiden on the rise, has good wave clear, can scale pretty well, but pretty slow, not a very good roamer. Enigma, completely different style of hero. We're seeing this played by specific position 4 players like Taiga and Tim's. Obviously, one of the best ultimates in the game. Can push towers, has a very unique style of play, keeps the lane back for his offlaner, but again, this will work a lot better in pros or in coordinated teams than it will in pubs. And then we have some other kind of classic roaming heroes like the Clockwork and Void Spirit, who I think works as a 4, but you have to be a very good Void Spirit player to make it work as a 4. You have to be super on point with hitting Aether Remnants. But obviously, both of these heroes are very good at setting their team up with kills in the early to mid game portion of Dota, which is super important. Not the best wave clear, great wave clear, but just a little bit harder to execute. And then after that, we've got some heroes that are just kind of falling off. They don't really do all of the jobs that we're looking for out of a 4. And if you have any questions about them, feel free to leave those in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed this tier list. I know it was a little bit faster, a little bit different format, but I think that it'll be probably more useful to you if we look at like pub winning heroes than the pro game winning heroes. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in another video very soon.